These 15 Buddhist ideas won't make life frictionless. They show you where choice remains when a message, mistake, conflict, or loss knocks you off balance. Each idea becomes one concrete experiment for ordinary life. At number 7, 3 questions can interrupt anger before it chooses your reply. At number 15, 5 reminders can put one neglected priority back on this week's calendar. We begin with the friction no system can remove and with what your mind adds to it. 1. Dukkha. Name the friction. Honestly. The first Buddhist lens is dukkha, a word often translated as suffering, stress, or unsatisfactoriness. It includes obvious pain, yet it also points to the quieter instability of ordinary life. Pleasant experiences end, plans fail, bodies tire, and getting what we want never guarantees lasting ease. Imagine your train is delayed before an important appointment. The delay is real. Then the mind adds, "This cannot be happening. My whole day is destroyed." Separate those layers. There is delay, anxiety, and uncertainty. What can I influence in the next 5 minutes? You might send a message, choose another route, or stop rehearsing outrage. Naming dukkha does not mean becoming passive, and it should never replace medical or psychological care. It removes the extra demand that life must become frictionless before you can respond wisely. Buddhist schools differ in philosophy and practice. Throughout this list, early teachings are translated into experiments for ordinary lay life, not presented as one universal Buddhist routine. Once friction is named, a deeper question appears. Why do both painful and pleasant moments refuse to stay? 2. Impermanence. Stop calling a moment forever. Anicca means impermanence. Bodies, moods, relationships, institutions, and possessions change because they depend on changing conditions. This can sound bleak until you notice its second edge. Anxiety changes too. Shame changes. The worst hour of a week is not the whole week. Suppose you make a mistake in a presentation and spend the evening thinking, "My career is collapsing." Add one sentence. "This feeling is present, and it is changing." Then identify 3 movements already underway. Your breathing slows, new information arrives, tomorrow's response can differ from today's. You are not predicting a happy ending. You are refusing to turn a moving process into a permanent verdict. Impermanence also sharpens appreciation. A familiar dinner, a healthy body, or an ordinary call with a parent deserves attention precisely because access is temporary. Choose one routine experience today and notice its beginning, change, and end without trying to hold it still. But if every state changes, what exactly is the fixed person we defend so fiercely? 3. Not self. Loosen the label. The teaching of anatta, or not self, is easy to flatten into the claim that people do not exist. The early discourses make a more careful move. Body, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness are changing and not fully controllable, so they are unreliable as a permanent possession or essence. In daily life, this challenges identity sentences that become cages. I am terrible at conflict. I am an anxious person. I am the successful one, so I cannot fail. Replace the label with an observation. My chest tightens during disagreement, and I rush to please. Now there are conditions to investigate and skills to practice. A fixed identity offered only a verdict. This also softens pride. Your achievements depend on teachers, health, timing, tools, and other people's labor. You still take responsibility. You simply stop pretending that a solitary, unchanging self authored everything. For 1 week, catch one sentence beginning with, "I am just the kind of person who," rewrite it as a temporary pattern. Once the label loosens, you can examine what is actually happening now, and that requires trained attention. 4. Mindfulness. Return to what is happening. Mindfulness in Buddhist practice is richer than generic relaxation. In teachings on establishing mindfulness, practitioners observe body, feelings, mind, and patterns of experience with awareness. The practical starting point is modest. Know what is occurring while it occurs. Before a difficult meeting, feel both feet on the floor. Take 3 natural breaths. Name the tone of the moment, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Then name the mind, hurried, defensive, curious, tired. The aim is recognition, not self-criticism. Anger is present, gives you more room than I am angry and therefore must act. Attach this 30-second practice to one threshold: opening email, entering your home, or sitting down to eat. A threshold works because you do not have to remember mindfulness all day. One repeated cue carries the habit. This pause will not control the meeting or erase emotion. It helps you encounter the first wave before a story multiplies it. The early discourses illustrate that multiplication with one of Buddhism's clearest images, a second arrow. 5. The second arrow. Do not wound the wound. In the Salatha Sutta, an ordinary person struck by painful feeling is compared to someone struck by one arrow and then another. The first arrow is the pain that arrives. The second is the mental reaction that compounds it. A rejection email hurts. Then come the additions. Nobody will choose me. I always fail. This proves I wasted years. Divide a page into 2 columns. Under first arrow, write only observable facts and direct feelings. The application was rejected. Disappointment and tightness are here. Under second arrow, write predictions, global labels, comparisons, and self-attack. This distinction must not become another accusation. People do not consciously choose every intrusive thought, and severe distress deserves support. The value lies in seeing which thoughts should not be promoted to facts. Ask, what care does the first arrow need, and what story can I stop feeding? Often that story does not stay private. It escapes through sarcasm, gossip, or a message sent at midnight. 6. Right speech. Make truth serve care. Early descriptions of right speech warn against falsehood, divisive talk, cruelty, and empty chatter. Another discourse adds a demanding standard. Speech should be true, beneficial, and offered at an appropriate time. Pleasantness alone is not the test. A difficult truth may still need saying. Imagine a colleague misses a deadline. Your first draft reads, "You clearly do not respect anyone else's time." That sentence claims knowledge of motive and invites defense. Delete it. State the observable event, the effect, and the request. The file arrived after the agreed time, so the review moved to tomorrow. Can we identify what blocked it and set a workable checkpoint? Before sending a high-stakes message, test it for accuracy, likely benefit, timing, and medium. Sometimes the wise action is speaking firmly. Sometimes it is waiting until your body is no longer preparing for combat. These tests improve the sentence, but they do not yet explain the energy behind it. For that, Buddhism offers a 3-part diagnostic, and this is the promised 7th idea. 7. The 3 roots. Find what is driving the reaction. Early Buddhist texts describe greed, aversion, and delusion as 3 roots of unskillful action. In modern language, the mind may be grasping for something, pushing something away, or failing to see clearly. Anger often contains all 3. Suppose someone mocks you in a group chat, and your fingers begin typing. Stop for 90 seconds. Ask, what am I trying to get? Perhaps status or the final word. What am I trying to destroy? Perhaps embarrassment or the other person's standing. What am I not seeing? Perhaps context, consequences, or the fact that you are exhausted. Then choose a response that weakens the dominant root. Against grasping, Release the need to win publicly. Against aversion, avoid deliberate humiliation. Against confusion, gather facts or wait. You may still set a boundary. I am willing to discuss the issue, but I will leave if the insults continue. This diagnostic removes anger from the driver's seat without demanding that you feel affectionate. But once retaliation pauses, another question appears. Can compassion protect more than one person at a time? 8. Compassion. Care without abandoning judgment. Picture a daughter sitting outside her father's hospital room at 2 in the morning. He is frightened. She is exhausted. If she stays without sleep, she may become unsafe. If she leaves for an hour, guilt tells her she is abandoning him. Compassion is not deciding whose pain counts. It is finding the next action that reduces harm for both. Buddhist traditions cultivate metta, a wish for beings to be well, and karuna, compassion in response to suffering. Neither requires approving harmful conduct or offering unlimited access to yourself. In the hospital, compassion may mean asking a nurse for help, resting, and returning able to listen. With a friend who repeatedly calls in crisis and attacks you when you hesitate, it may sound like this: I care about you, and I cannot keep answering calls after midnight. Tomorrow, I can help you find professional support. The care is real, so is the limit. Before a difficult conversation, offer 3 wishes. May I be safe. May this person be free from suffering. May our actions cause less harm. Then decide what honesty and protection require. If contact is unsafe, compassion can occur from a distance. Compassion meets suffering. The next relationship test appears when someone else is flourishing and we are not. 9. Sympathetic joy. Practice not losing when others win. Mudita is joy in another person's good fortune. It directly addresses envy, the reflex that turns someone else's promotion, relationship, recognition, or recovery into a verdict on our own worth. Suppose a colleague announces the opportunity you wanted. You do not need to fake delight. Begin with accuracy. Envy is here because this matters to me. Then make one deliberate gesture that does not feed it. Congratulate the person specifically. You handled that difficult project with patience. I am glad it was recognized. Afterward, let the envy teach you what you value and identify one step in your own direction. Sympathetic joy does not deny unfair systems, and it does not forbid disappointment. It refuses to make bitterness the price of ambition. Each time you appreciate good fortune without trying to possess it, another person's happiness becomes available as a source of connection. That freedom can move beyond emotion. What happens when time, attention, knowledge, or money also stop circling exclusively around the self? 10. Generosity. Give without creating a debt. Dana, generosity, is foundational in Buddhist lay practice. Its deepest daily effect may be the loosening of clinging. Giving reveals that mine is a relationship we maintain, not a law embedded in an object. Choose a form that is meaningful and sustainable: money, food, blood, skill, attention, or time. For example, give 1 hour to help a new colleague learn a system, and do it without converting the favor into future leverage. Notice the mind during the act. Does it calculate praise, fear scarcity, want control over how the gift is used? That observation is part of the practice. Generosity does not demand reckless giving. Keep commitments to dependence, protect your health, and research organizations before donating. A useful weekly experiment is to decide the gift in advance, give it, and avoid announcing it unless publicity helps the cause. A single gift changes one exchange. Work determines a much larger flow of resources and consequences. 11. Right livelihood. Include consequences in the paycheck. Right. Livelihood is a factor of the Noble Eightfold Path. An early list for lay followers rejects trade in weapons, human beings, meat, intoxicants, and poison. Modern economies are more entangled, so the practical question is broader. Who or what is predictably harmed by the way this income is produced? Do not turn that question into a dramatic command to quit tonight. Picture a marketer being asked to add a false countdown timer to a sales page. The salary, the deadline, and the manager are real constraints. So is the deception. The next ethical move might be to show the complaint data, propose accurate urgency, document the objection, or refuse that claim. If the conflict is structural, it might mean saving, training, organizing with colleagues, or planning an exit. Audit your own role. List its main product, intended benefit, foreseeable harms, and the part you can influence. A manager might stop rewarding chronic unpaid overtime. A developer might raise a privacy risk before launch. Almost every job participates in imperfect systems. Purity is impossible, but the next honest reduction of harm is not. Livelihood expands ethics across a career. The next idea brings the lens back to a single action and asks what you are rehearsing each time you act. 12. Karma. Notice the intention you are rehearsing. Karma is often presented as cosmic revenge or a promise that every visible event was personally deserved. That framing invites superstition and victim blaming. In an early discourse, the Buddha identifies intention as karma. Through intention, people act by body, speech, and mind. Before an important act, ask, what intention am I strengthening? Imagine apologizing after an argument. The words may sound gentle while the intention is to end discomfort, recover status, or force quick forgiveness. Pause and choose repair instead. Name the harm, avoid excuses, ask what would help, and accept that trust may return slowly. Good intentions do not erase harmful results. Outcomes still require attention, correction, and accountability. The point is that repeated intentions shape the actions that become easier next time. Every rehearsal matters. This restores agency without pretending that you control every consequence. Yet agency can mutate into harsh striving. If effort matters, perhaps more pain means more virtue. 13. The middle way. Build effort, you can continue. In the Buddha's first discourse, the middle way avoids two extremes, devotion to sensual indulgence and self-mortification. It is specifically identified with the Noble Eightfold Path, so the middle way does not mean choosing the average of every opinion. Its practical lesson is powerful for burnout. Suffering is poor evidence that a method is wise. Suppose you decide to improve your health and choose a punishing routine you can maintain for 6 days. When exhaustion ends the streak, you call yourself weak. A middle way experiment asks what disciplined practice can continue without indulgence or self-attack, a manageable session, adequate recovery, and gradual progression. Apply the same test to study or work. Set a clear period of concentrated effort, a stopping point, and a review based on results rather than pain endured. Sustainable does not mean effortless. It means the difficulty serves the purpose. Balance becomes easier when behavior stops looking like a pure test of character. Habits arise from conditions, and conditions can be redesigned. 14. Dependent arising. Change conditions, not just willpower. Dependent arising is a profound Buddhist account of how suffering emerges through conditions. Its formal teaching is far more complex than a productivity technique. One useful daily implication is simple. Experiences do not appear from one isolated cause. When conditions change, patterns can change. Take late-night scrolling. The identity verdict says, I have no discipline. A conditional map asks what comes first. The phone is beside the bed, Work ends with unresolved tension, notifications remain active, and there is no easier transition to rest. Change two conditions. Charge the phone outside the room and place a book or audio player where the phone used to be. Then observe what happens for 7 nights. This lens also changes conflict. Instead of asking only, who is the bad person? Ask which incentives, misunderstandings, fears, and power differences keep producing the same result. Responsibility remains, while intervention becomes more intelligent. Conditions explain how a pattern continues. They cannot tell you which pattern deserves your limited time. For that, the final idea places aging, separation, action, and death in the same frame. 15. The 5 Remembrances. Let Finitude choose with you. An early discourse recommends frequent reflection on 5 facts for laypeople and renunciants alike. We are subject to aging, illness, and death. We will be separated from what we love, and we inherit the consequences of our actions. This is the final payoff because it can reorder a week without adding a complicated system. Once a week, read the 5 reflections slowly. Then ask, given that time, health, relationships, and opportunities are unstable, what deserves 1 hour now? The answer might be booking a medical appointment, calling your father, drafting a will, apologizing, practicing a skill, or finally resting with someone you love. Mortality reflection should clarify life, not flood it with panic. If it intensifies anxiety, shorten the practice, seek guidance, or set it aside. Properly used, it cuts through postponement. It reminds us that control is limited while conduct still matters. Now the opening question has an answer. Avoidable suffering grows through grasping, resistance, confusion, and the stories layered onto pain. Choice survives in attention, intention, speech, boundaries, and the conditions we shape. Philosophy becomes practical when one ordinary decision changes. Here are the 15 ideas in one pass. Name Dukkha. Remember impermanence. Loosen a fixed identity through not self. Train mindfulness at a threshold. Separate the first arrow from the second. Make speech true, helpful, and timely. Diagnose greed, aversion, and confusion. Combine compassion with boundaries. Practice joy in another person's good fortune. Give without creating a debt. Audit the harm connected to livelihood. Examine the intention called karma. Choose sustainable effort through the middle way. Redesign conditions through dependent arising. And let the 5 remembrances return what matters to the calendar. The point is not to remember 15 concepts. It is to notice one moment early enough to choose differently. The next question is how one wise response becomes a stable path. That is what the Noble Eightfold Path is designed to organize, and that is where we go next. Which of these 15 ideas could improve one real situation in your life this week? Put the number in the comments, and if you want, add the situation in one sentence. Choosing a number makes the experiment specific, and your example may help someone else recognize where to begin. Test that one idea for 7 days. You do not need to perform all 15 at once. If this list gave you a useful way to meet a difficult moment, share it with one person who would value the practice.